Hi, it's March 29th on Saturday, 2014, and I'm at the Holiday Inn Midtown on 57th Street at the Rainbow Book Fair, which is America's longest running LGBT book fair. This annual book fair is the longest running gay book fair in the country. It has about 100 authors, publishers, poets, writers who are both reading their work and selling their work. So there are books and ebooks and all sorts of stuff here that they're promoting. There are also art books, there are fetish books, there's books for children. So it really is like a family event. It goes for about 5 hours. Later I'm going to be talking to 2 or 3 writers that feature fetish themes in their work. Originally from Savannah, Georgia, Perry Brass has published 17 books, many of which have garnered many literary awards. His work appears in more than 30 anthologies of poetry, short fiction, essays, and critical studies, and leaps from romance, science fiction, erotic thrillers, and even how-to and self-help. He has been involved in the LGBT movement since 1969, and co-edited Come Out, the world's first gay liberation newspaper. In 1972, with 2 friends, he started the Gay Men's Health Project Clinic, the first clinic for gay men on the East Coast, still operating as New York's Callan Lord Community Health Center. He is also currently a coordinator of the Rainbow Book Fair. Because his work sometimes explores the dynamics of BDSM, I caught up with him at the Rainbow Book Fair this April in 2014 to hear his thoughts about writing in that genre. Hi, I'm with Perry Brass here at the Rainbow Book Fair. Perry, what are the challenges that are presented to you trying to work with BDSM in contemporary writing?
I think the main challenge is to keep it fresh and exciting. There's a lot of trite crap about BDSM that I don't want to put in my own writing, but I certainly see enough of it. I think if you're a really good writer, then you can employ these ideas, these themes, these situations in your own writing and use them, and I use them a lot. I love them. I think that they're part of human life, and they're certainly a part of queer life and gay sexuality. And it's something that people have a hard time dealing with sometimes until they come to grips with it. And then they realize that, well, once you liberate it, it can keep your sexual, your kind of like your sexual heart open. And I use that in my work a lot. I really do use that. And one of the things I use in my work a lot, one of the themes is the idea of compassion. And I think that there's a part of BDSM that opens up this route to compassion, that it opens up this route to saving another man. And that's something that we all want. You know, I mean, so many young guys, what they're really looking for is for the hero in their life, or to be that hero. And BDSM offers a route to it.
That's actually a really beautiful sort of explanation of what goes through our minds when we're taking part in BDSM of any kind. So I hate to go from something so beautiful to something so mundane, but what do you think the effect of the success of 50 Shades of Grey has on how BDSM is received or presented?
A lot of smirking going on. It's like, oh my God, this woman's made all this money from this thing that I've been writing about now for 25 years. Oh my God. Well, it's because the straights have discovered it. Actually, they didn't discover it. They didn't discover it at all. It's been around, but the housewife in Dubuque can now look at this book and say, you know, this can be interesting. Maybe I'll get my husband to do this to me. As long as it doesn't hurt too much and nobody's embarrassed by it. And they sell it at Walmart. Yay.
It helps if he's a billionaire.
Yes, it helps if he's a billionaire. Everything helps if you're a billionaire.
Always better.
Yeah, always good. Yeah.
So, you have anything that may feature BDSM or anything new or anything current?
Yes, of course I do.
Go ahead.
Of course I do. Well, This book, Warlock, is very much deals with that. It deals with it's about possession and submission, very, very much, but also Carnal Sacraments. This book, which I think is a wonderful book, it has this element of pulling someone from the desperation of their life, and that's what BDSM is often about. That you're in your regular life, it's boring, it's like depression itself, and suddenly someone comes along and says, whack, whew, we're going to get you out of this, and you're going to open your heart. It's going to open your heart up to the possibilities of a deeper human sexuality, and it's marvelous when we guys do this.
Laura Antoniou is the author of the well-known Marketplace series of erotic novels. The Marketplace series describes, according to Libido magazine, an elite and secretive world organization dedicated to the auctioning and overseeing of the world's finest lifestyle slaves, a world so vivid in sequel after sequel it takes on a reality of its own, one that's visually hard to let go of once the reader has put down the book. Laura is finishing The Inheritor, Book 6 in the series, which will be published in 2015. She has also published a series of short stories based in the Marketplace entitled Scenes from the Marketplace, and she also edited a fan fiction collection entitled No Safe Words. In addition to the Marketplace series, Laura is the author of The Killer Wore Leather, a comedy murder mystery that takes place at a BDSM convention. The book is nominated for the 2015 Lambda Literary Award and won the 2013 Rainbow Book Awards. Laura also edited the groundbreaking Leather Women anthologies and several other collections of fiction and nonfiction. She will be editing the upcoming Best Lesbian Erotica, to be published in late 2014. Her work has been translated into Spanish, German, Hebrew, Japanese, and Korean. I am thrilled to be chatting with Laura today about her writing.
Hi, I'm with Laura Antoniou here at the Rainbow Book Fair, and I just wanted to ask, what are any special challenges in writing and publishing BDSM now, these days?
The biggest challenge, I think, is the rise in Romantica, which is erotic romance, which is a romance novel with the standard tropes of a monogamous couple who get together, circumstances break them up, and then they get back together in the end, and everyone knows they're going to get back together in the end, and there's no question that they're going to get back together in the end, but the story is about the bumps on the way. Erotica is more primarily about the fact that the connection between the characters carries the story forward. There is a reason why they're having this kind of sex, and it's either because the whole book is only about that sex, or it's because this sex itself causes character development, conflict, communications and understandings, or change, that sort of thing. So the rise of Romantica, I think, is delivering a really heavy blow to traditional erotica. People want it to be about couples, and they're a little afraid of explicit sex. The other challenge to erotica right now, particularly kinky erotica, is 50 Shades of Grey.
You jumped into my next question.
Yeah, what a surprise.
What do you think? I mean, what is that?
Well,
does it change the audience? Does it grow an audience? What do you think?
You know, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this. There is absolutely no question in my mind that 50 Shades of Grey has increased the sale of my own books. All right? I don't know whether it's because a lot of readers picked up 50 Shades of Grey and said, what is this shit? Why aren't you reading Laura Antoniou's Marketplace books instead? Or because the number of people who picked up this book, and let's just remember, best-selling books in the world, in the English language, okay, then knew what to look for. Right? And And so they went to Google and they said, BDSM, kinky, bondage, anal beads, or whatever.
You had me at anal beads.
Right? And eventually they find the kinky writers.
Do you think, because of this, do you think it helps to see the name of a female author on the book, on your book?
I don't know. In some circles, I'm sure. Because among the heterosexual females, they are my biggest fans. I love you all. Among the gay men, probably not so much. My gay male fans, I love you too. And you know, both of you, who you are. But I think they're less likely to pick up a book by a woman. But on the other hand, you know, traditionally they're less likely to pick up any book by women.
We've heard that.
Yeah. I think being out as a woman was just necessary for me because I want to claim credit for what I wrote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it makes sense. And identity is really important at a certain point, especially when it's an issue, when people want to make it an issue.
Yes, absolutely. Back when I first started writing erotica, I did use pseudonyms. It was over 20 years ago. I didn't know whether I was going to be writing erotica for long. And everyone said I needed to write under a pseudonym. So I did. And then the books took off. And I was like, well, now I want credit for it. So 2 years ago, I stripped away my last pseudonym, which was my gay male fiction author credit, and now I only write under my own name.
Great. So, speaking of which, let's talk about some of what's going on with your titles here, like the most current, and then what's, I think, something important happened.
Well, I'm best known for I was best known for the Marketplace series of books, which is BDSM erotica. First one is 20 years old. The sixth one, I'm within 10 chapters of finishing right now. The fifth one just came out as an ebook and a physical book
God.
the size of a phone book. I write long books. These are all from Circlet Press. They're new issues, and I love them. And last year we did our first fan fiction anthology, and people who've been reading me for over a dozen or even as many as 20 years wrote stories in my universe. But also last year I wrote my first mystery, and that's The Killer Wore Leather. And it is a comedy murder mystery set in the leather community. In fact, it's set at a giant leather contest called the Mr. and Ms. Global Leather and Boot Black contest, where, amazingly, last year's unpopular winner is found dead.
It could happen.
Yeah. You could say it was years in the writing.
And it's in the running for an award?
Yes, it is. It has actually won a Rainbow Award last year for Best LGBT Fiction. It was mentioned by the American Library Association's Gay Fiction Group as a noteworthy book from last year, the only mystery to get that distinction. And it's a finalist for a Lambda Book Award in the Lesbian Mystery category. My first Lammy nomination.
Well, congratulations and good luck. And thank you so much. Great to meet you today.
David Stein, also known as Slave David Stein, has spent decades looking for a master with a will of iron, a heart of gold, a mind like a steel trap, and the patience of a saint. In the meantime, he put his heart into educational and erotic writing about BDSM and dominance submission lifestyle. He is the author of Carried Away, an SM romance on Daedalus Press, and Ask the Man Who Owns Him on Perfect Bound Press, a collection of interviews with long-term master-slave gay male relationships. He also guest-edited an issue of International Leatherman magazine, 6 years of safety columns in Bound and Gag magazine, and fiction and nonfiction in the magazines Checkmate, Dungeon Master, Mock, Power Play, and Drummer. In 1980, David co-founded Gay Male SM Activists, also known as GMSMA, once the world's largest gay SM organization, and served it in many capacities, from president to the newsletter editor and program chairman for the next 11 years. It was for GMSMA's statement of purpose back in 1983 that David coined safe, sane, and consensual SM, now a ubiquitous catchphrase that he now has mixed feelings about. Retired from GMSMA, in 1999 he co-founded New York City's gay chapter of Masters and Slaves Together, MAST, from which he is also now retired. David's time is now filled with writing and publishing his own and other authors' work. David showed and discussed his work at the fair.
Hi, I'm with David Stein here at the Rainbow Book Fair. David, what are some of the challenges in using BDSM in publishing these days?
Well, it's easy to get the books published if you do it yourself, which I do, rather than going through an established big publisher. The challenge is finding the audience, because we don't all come with little labels, and it's hard to find the people who are interested. Even online, we're very scattered. Even on something like FetLife, which is a huge social network for kinky people, it's overwhelmingly straight. So finding the gay people there can be a challenge, and finding gay people who want to read is a challenge these days. So many gay men are very visually oriented, and they mostly want pictures. So even though I have some books that are visually oriented today, you know, finding people who want books that are on paper, it can be a challenge. So I put some of my books as ebooks, but I need to do that with more of them. This one is a new book that's paper dolls for big boys.
Love it.
And lots of people think it's a really cool idea, but not that many of them are willing to actually shell out the money for it. In the Books Inc. store on Market Street in San Francisco, it does very well. At the Leatherman in New York, it does very well. Everywhere else is not doing that well. It's very strange. This is another book by the same author, Tom Magister. This is his look at the history of the leather bar, illustrated with 12-inch action figures that are suitably clothed and placed in backgrounds to recreate images of bars over the last 50 years. And it's a really terrific book, but again, it's a hard sell because, you know, people think it's expensive and it's paper, and, you know, they want something that they can download to their Kindle.
Do you think, if any, is there any effect on the success of 50 Shades of Grey on any of this material, including like gay material?
I'm not sure whether it's had an effect on gay material, but it has brought an enormous new audience for the straight material. There are so many new authors and publishers in straight kinky erotica because of that book, and a lot of organizations are kind of overwhelmed by the new people who say, well, I'm interested, tell me what I need to know. And it's...
You mean publishers?
Yeah, you know, publishers and organizations are kind of overwhelmed by the new audience, but a lot of the new people drawn by that book are going to, you know, drop out as years go by because it's a very shallow interest. You know, when they learn that doing kink well takes some study and some effort and so forth, you know, they tend to, oh, well, it's too much trouble. Right.
So, any titles that like any of the prose titles that are new that you want to feature, or that?
Well, I don't have anything new right now. These are 3 books of stories by different authors. This is my own, and this is by Tom Magister, who did the 2 picture books. and this is by Christopher Pierce, and they're steady sellers, low-key level. And this is my bestseller, Ask the Man Who Owns Him, which is Profiles of Gay Master-Slave Relationships. This has sold about 1,200 copies over the 4 years it's been out, which is really quite good for a self-published book in a niche market.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Kane Berlin is an award-winning author of several health, fitness, and meditation books. He has stories in many magazines in America and abroad. He has published columns on health and BDSM issues. He also has a number of anthologies in print as well as many ebooks. His gay romances generally border on the dark side and cover many unusual genres. Kane Berlin has published innumerable short stories in various gay publications throughout Europe and America. His self-published books include Essays on Black America, a book on meditation, and a series of fitness books. He currently lives in New York City with his life partner, whom he says indulges him shamelessly. Knowing, sarcastic, and wise, it's always a pleasure to catch up with Kane, and this chat at the book fair was no exception.
Hi, I'm talking to Kane Berlin at the 6th Annual Rainbow Book Fair. Kane, what are some of the challenges that you experience or understand in producing BDSM material these days?
Challenge? No challenge.
No challenge?
No, I write it, my publishers like what I write. It's out there. I mean, it's no challenge because it's my lifestyle. So, you know what they say, write what you know.
Do you work with one publisher, or do you, for some reason I thought you had your own imprint? Do you have both?
In the very beginning, I did publish my own stuff, which was like 3 or 4 titles. In the last few years or so, I've had a publisher, Lydian Press, and they do all my publishing.
Has working with an outside publisher, I see that the covers are different. They seem to be more elaborate, more engaging. I mean, has that affected your content at all?
The content?
Your approach?
Not necessarily. It's affected my output because I do love my covers, and it inspires me to write more just to see the covers because it's like when you write something, it's like watching the character come to life.
Now, in terms of the business or in terms of what you're thinking is for whatever you're working on or what comes out next year, 50 Shades of Grey, any effect, any change, do you perceive any change in the audience or interest in what you're doing?
Oh, yeah, it's changed in the audience. All of a sudden, everybody wants to do or read about BDSM. The sexual content and a lot of books has gone down, or it's not as in your face as it used to be. I think it's probably saturated the market. And as to her success, it definitely goes to show you just have no idea what the public's going to want. If it hits, it hits. I mean, people have worked a lot longer and harder than she just got very lucky. And I'm sure it probably has sent a lot of people flurrying to write more.
Right, exactly. Or at least for the next, 2, 5, 10 years? I mean, maybe
it'll be something else.
Right, exactly. All right, what are you showing now? I see a bunch of titles. Anything new? Anything that's really doing well? Anything you really want to talk about?
Okay, let's see. Right now, Beauty and the Beast is doing very nicely. And
tell me a little about it.
Beauty and the Beast is about an opera singer. First of all, it takes place in the future, and there's an opera singer. And in prison now, they take the prisoners, instead of putting them on life, they force them to fight in the arena, gladiators. And one of the gladiators falls in love with the opera singer and vice versa. And this is 5 continuing stories, so you can read each one individual, but then they all run together to form the one novel.
So they're all in one
It's
One
all
book.
in
There's
one
5
book.
stories there.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you want to buy just each separate one, you can get them all in ebooks
Wow,
as a separate piece. So that's one
That's
of them.
cool.
That's pretty much the same with all of them. Luther is also my other favorite. And Luther's my favorite because he's a black vampire whose roommate is the son of Satan. And they go
Convenient.
But the son of Satan doesn't want to be the son of Satan. He wants to go out and make it on his own.
Just accept it.
So what they do is they go and they battle zombies and vampires and demons. Yeah,
Anti-heroes.
dark heroes.
Dark heroes.
Because Luther's still slashing throats and.
Oh, right. Okay. Because they still have a hunger. I mean, they still.
Yeah, they still do, but they're kind of protecting their turf. So whenever anything shows up in their turf, they fight them.
This is a guide to roommates in the today. I see.
And again, each story is a separate one as an ebook, so you can get each separate one, or you can buy the whole thing as a full print.
What's the most current thing you have? Is there
The most current one would be.
Is that? I mean, Dark Side? No. Caligula Rising? Oh, great title. Great.
Yeah, that one and Beast and Luther. Oh, and Corporate Games. That was also on.
On average, how many books a year do you write and produce? I mean, I know that.
Well, the thing is that I don't really write long books. I write short stories, and then eventually pull them together to make each one as a different anthology. So it does become a novel.
I see.
But I write them piece by piece.
It seems like you're always writing.
Yeah, I do. And there's a lot more coming out because I like writing.
Listen, well, I thank you so much for talking to us today. Have a great day.